so many of my clients will come up to me and go, "Oh, we love this Koenigsegg livery that you did on this. Can you do it on our Le Mans car? Can you do it on our GT car?" I supported Renault as a kid, so to work for Renault now or Alpine, it's like supporting Man United as a kid and playing for Man United. I know I'm not a driver, but I am in that team.
Are you working on 2022 stuff?
Oh yeah, definitely, 100%.
Excited.
Really.
Now, I've mentioned before in the past how there's been guests on this podcast that I've been meaning to get on for a long time, but today's guest definitely wins out that competition. This has been a long time coming. I think we can call ourselves livery nerds. The only difference is that today's guest actually works for a Formula One team. And obviously, well, I thought the summer break meant you got some time off, mate, but we were talking before and turns out actually you don't. Welcome to the Cool Down podcast, Mr. Sean Ball. How are you, buddy?
Bonjour. Okay, tired. Like I said earlier, I've got a baby. My wife's pregnant again. So no sleep, full work, full jobs. Yeah, rocking dad life, slowly growing dad life.
How are you finding dad life so far? Because
I love it. I absolutely love it.
They're lockdown babies, right?
Yeah, completely locked down. So still home working. I've just had the longest paternity leave possible, I think. Got to see my daughter every single day. Yeah, absolutely brilliant. I know it's been hard for a lot of people, but for me, I've loved every single second of it. 2 weeks just isn't enough.
It's one of them things, isn't it? There's always going to be pros and cons to a situation like we're in at the moment. I've got a friend of mine they've had exactly the same. They had their kid about a year ago. It makes a lot of sense. But obviously, working from home and you're working with Alpine, Formula One team at the moment. I mean, how are you finding working from home? Because I know, I guess for me personally, at the start, I enjoyed it. Now I'm glad I've got the Veloce stuff where I can go into an office and see people. How are you finding striking that balance at the minute?
Good. We've got a small team anyway. We've only got a team of 4. I mean, we communicate quite a lot. Anyway, catching up debriefs. We have a meeting every Monday just to see what we're doing, what we're planning, stuff like that. And we had a lot to do. We had a big turnaround from being Renault to being Alpine. All happened over lockdown. So we had that huge, just complete overhaul. It's not so much, it's still part of Renault. It's completely different. We're essentially a different company.
Wow.
Now, and it's just absolutely everything had to be rebranded. My boss, Clogger, knows a lot more because he has to deal with factory elements, but even little things like pull-out drawers have to be rebranded in Alpine font, not Renault fonts. Renault fonts can't be used anywhere. All Renault stuff's gone, stuff like that. And then we've got liveries, race suits, teamwear, social graphics that Chris does. Just absolutely everything had to be turned around all at home, and sort of not having that connection of going into the factory and seeing the car, which is the first time that I've not actually seen what the car. I've still yet to see the car.
Really?
In real life, yeah.
The car that you helped design in terms of delivery, anyway.
So it's just you do lose a lot of that connection. Obviously, my boss has gone in because he does the final bit. He works with the paint team. He'll line out the car and stuff like that, which I did for the first time last year. I sort of helped. I just observed pretty much. I'm still the newest member of the team, so it's good. It's like an early morning start, which I'm sure those guys always do. But it's great to finally, and I think you know from this, if you love F1, and I've been such a livery nerd forever. So I can go in and you see, right, this is the F1 car being laid out. This is where we're going to put the stickers for the entire year. This line has to be right. Are we going to? And it's making decisions on the fly, like the pinstripes we had on the nose. Last year they got cut, and my boss was like, "Oh, should we just cut it at the suspension, cut it at this angle?" Yeah, and it's like that. Just the decision is made like that for the rest of the year. Then, so everything's updated. So like F1 game on media renders, just little stuff like that. So that I really love. I'm an absolute. My boss calls me a bobble hat or an anorak, and I am. I'm a massive geek for all of it. So sort of losing that connection last year has been a bit tougher, I'd say, but. Working from home, it's been a challenge, but it's been a good one. I've been at so many more hours, especially like the livery development and renders this year. I think on my files alone, I've got about 305 different concepts for this year's car. And that's not including my boss, his boss, and the team in Paris as well, and everything that all merged together. So by far the most developed I've seen, and I've only been there. It's my 4th season now. Yeah.
Damn, that's crazy. So, I mean, again, for anyone who doesn't kind of follow you already, because not only do you work for Alpine, but also you post I'm impressed by how you do that full-time job. You've got a kid and you're still able to put out such consistent like livery concepts on your own channels. But for anyone who doesn't like, what is your actual, job title at Alpine, and what's a
Graphic
typical
designer,
day
that's it.
at Shawmore? Is that it, just graphic
That's,
design?
that's
So you're
literally
not
it,
like,
yeah. We can all do what we each do, but we do have sort of like specialties. So my boss has done it he was design director at Caterham before he joined here.
wow. Nice.
So yeah, he had really cool liveries that they worked on there. My senior designers worked literally since Renault were Benetton, so he did all the Mild 7 stuff like that. So proper legend. It's like and he's got like the Mild 7 paint codes. Every year we go, can we do an R25 this year? Can we do an R25 this year? But yeah, not going to happen.
So you're the one, because everyone's asking for it. You're
I'm the one asking
inside, pulling. Come on.
Yeah, every single year. I'm like, can we? Especially when we were Renault and it was black and yellow.
Yeah.
We just do it blue this year. Especially when E-Tech branding came on. It's like, let's just do the whole thing blue. Yeah, no, it's not going to happen. It's already been done. I think that a lot of people make good points. It's like there's no point doing stuff again just for the sake of it. And I love retro designs. I'll do them on my concept channel loads, but there's no point just revisiting something that's already been done. You want to try and create something new. And I think that's something that we've done as a whole team really well this year. I'm hoping that especially as it's now won a race, that the Alpine cars look back on fondly because it's something new. It's not just an R25. If we'd have done an R25, people would go, it doesn't quite look as well. It's like when Haas did the JPS Rich Energy, or old Lotus did it. It's no one's remembering those. They're remembering the ones from the 80s. So we don't want people to remember an R25 when they see the first Alpine. It's such a big Martin event. You want to know it as the first Alpine car. It's nice to have that hint, to have a blue car and Fernando in it, obviously, but of course, I think that's enough just to have a hint enough of a design icon, but then just make it. And we see it in football kits. So I know you're a big fan of football kits, but you never want to just have AC Milan put the same stuff out every single year, or Inter put the same stuff out.
You want evolution.
Reinventing a thing, and it's evolving into the.
So it's kind of like the modern Red Bull livery. I know people criticise it for always being the same, but I think that will be looked upon in 20, 30 years' time, like the Marlboro McLarens are now.
Yeah, 100%. And it's I call it a success ballast. It's like you look at all the iconic cars, it's always JPS Lotus, Marlboro McLaren, Chrome Vodafone McLaren. As well, and it's because it's the same car year after year that's been developed. There's victories and championships associated to them, and it has that historical weight behind it. You think of Senna, Marlboro McLaren, Hamilton in his Vodochromes and stuff like that. And it's having that continuity, and Red Bull will get that in about 30 years. Everyone will look back at the Red Bull car and go, "Oh my god, nuts!" Because I worked for Red Bull as well. I worked for the American guys, Red Bull North America, and seeing their brand guidelines or what the F1 guys do, it just blew me away. The fact that they don't use a white outline on their bull, I've been told every time you can't do that. So it's good to see them push their own brand forward as well, and just to make on track. I don't know if you've seen them live. The Red Bull does stand out amazingly, especially like low light.
It's the contrast for me.
So good, so good.
The dark to the yellow and the red is just it's a beautiful car, and I just think I get that, seeing the same thing all the time, it's interesting when it's different. And obviously that was what was so interesting about Alpine this year, because obviously you're a new team but also not a new team, but a completely new livery. And I mean, obviously I know you were involved in the process of creating that livery, the processes from kind of start to finish, and how long that process took to get from your first initial concepts to the final completed finished thing?
It's quite a few months. It's a long time, especially as we knew about Alpine in advance of it actually happening. So then you start prepping and you start looking at adjusting the current livery to sort of Alpinize it, because we didn't know how big the Renault involvement would be. And then it's just sort of going down those routes, and then you'll come up with some concepts. We'll sort of be briefed. I think this time we were sort of briefed by Paris. Everything's filtered down. So we'll have like Luca De Meo right at the top, very involved. He loves F1. You can see him. He's at the races almost every time. It's really good to have an owner. And it feels, I think I can speak for everyone in Arctic, you feel a lot more secure having him at the helm, who's absolutely nuts for it. To have a guy who's really into F1,
Not just in
running
it
the
for the
show,
money. Yeah,
it does make you think, right, we're Alpine are here to win. We have
here
so
to
far,
stay.
but win properly and win championships. And it's him sort of getting involved. He'll have a sort of brief fed to him. We're massively involved with the Alpine road car design team. A great little team. As one is because I did car design at uni, so knowing some of these
Nice.
designers that work for Alpine, it's like I sort of when I was at uni 5 years ago or whatever, I'd be like, oh, I know him. And to be now sort of be on Zoom calls with them, it's quite surreal for me. It's like, oh, it's Anthony Villard from Alpine Road Car. So that's quite cool.
Yeah.
And we've got to work with them because obviously it's their brand. Whereas before we were sort of like given, this is the Renault brand, this is, you can do with this, it's yellow and black. Whereas Alpine, it's their brand. They've been working with it for 7 years or 10. I'm not sure how long it's been relaunched since they came back, but they sort of know what they need. So it's a lot of feedback loops with them. They propose concepts, we propose concepts. Everything was sort of merged together. That would be fed back through Alpine, through to DeMeo, and then it goes up and down, up and down, up and down, till we sort of hone in a direction that we need. Partners really get taken into consideration as well. Looking at who goes where, what has to stay in certain elements. Our logo's got rejigged quite a lot this year. You saw like RCI moved, Bell and Ross moved, stuff like that. We've got a huge Alpine on the side, the giant A graphic as well. That's something that you get set in really, because it's a lot about promoting the brand, it seems. So we have that big push for Alpine identity. You know it's an Alpine car straight away. So we're getting a lot of prominence to that. And they're sort of locked in, and you sort of design around that. So it's like, that's brief. And then we'll all have a go, all four of us in the team, will come up with livery concept. Like I say, I've got over 300 different designs just in the development of that. And then that sort of gets filtered down. You go, right, this is the direction we're going. Then you start looking at paints and materials. So that's when like the paint shop come in and see what they can make. And they worked with Paris as well. I think this is sort of out of my depth what the paint guys do. And they feedback. So like the blue was created by them and Paris working together, I believe. So and it's getting that. It looks brilliant in all lights, especially at night.
I was going to ask about that, like, because that paint finish, it's not just the color, but it's the finish as well, is so unique. Like, was that a decision that, you know, did you trial lots of different finishes and then just come to that in the end, or?
At the start, we were looking. Well, I don't know how much I can say at that, but we were for sure looking at different material finishes, and you do mock-ups on that. So it'd be like one phase. It's like, right, we want to see 5 different blues. We want to see these different finishes on these different elements. We want these bits to be chrome, whatever. So we'd feedback with those, send those back. Then it would come back going, right, now it's down to these 3. Put them in CAD, and it's that sort of end when you've got the design sort of rounded off. You start doing CAD loops. So we'll map the car to the chassis, see what works. Because as soon as you take stuff out of Photoshop and into CAD, it's not quite as good as real life because of projections. But you've seen in your CAD renders and the stuff that you do with the RSS car, everything does warp and distort. A straight line is not a straight line at all. Once it starts mapping, it might look good from side view, and you see that a lot with a lot of concept art gets designed in a side view, and as soon as it tilts, that's it. And I'm guilty of it as well. The distortion is absolutely crazy. So we'll put it into CAD, we'll start doing CAD loops, and then you can change materials instantly like that, and sponsors, and you're able to view the car from much more angles. So that really, really starts to hone it down then. We did sort of stuff, we were doing all that, and we also learned 2 new CAD programs as well in the time to try and help with the realism, because obviously you're not in the factory, everything was locked down. So we did an awful lot of on-track simulations with all the different materials and all the different blues that we could hit, just to see how it'd look in different lighting, night races, in the rain, and stuff like that. And that's where CGI really, really helped, and it's something I've really tried to push. So you might have seen it on my
I've noticed that,
out of Photoshop and just into CAD, because it just makes so much more realism, and it helps with the process.
It's a level up, isn't it?
Yeah, it actually puts some reasoning behind it. So we did a lot of on-track development, on-track renders, and then again, feed back and feed down till it's narrowed off, and then it sort of goes into the real world. So then the paint shop guys go, right, we're going to do this paint. It was like the matte metallic, something really unique. I think that was sort of Alpine road cars sort of side, because their road cars are launched with these matte metallic colours now. So that was their sort of impact, to add this sort of matching to it. So then that's created, and then our paint shop guys have to work out how to make it light enough to actually paint the car. Because every kg it's like a tenth or something. It's crazy how much an impact we can have, and how a paint shop can have on the performance of the car. It's crazy, because we've got minimum and maximum weights now, but the ballast that you can have and how that affects it. It's little details like not painting front wings, putting weight rearwards, putting weight forwards with paint lines. McLaren do a really, really good job where they've really got a thin bit of orange painted and everything is exposed carbon. It looks like black, but it's just exposed carbon in like blue vinyl to the side. It's just all about weight saving. Williams did it really, really well with their Martini designs about bringing that paint line up, just shave off all that weight. So you've got all those aspects to look at. And we have meetings with Aero and the engineering side. We'll have those. We had one for 2022 not a while ago, and it's interesting to see what changes for that. So you've got all those impacts as well. It's like can't paint this, can't paint that, like turning vanes, barge boards, and so we were all taking. I think Toro Rosso, AlphaTauri launched their renders, and all the barge boards were painted white and everything. And we looked at that going, how on earth have they got away with that? And then
I remember that.
When they did launch it, they weren't painted at all. We all looked at that in the office. Like,
they look terrible in white as well.
What are they doing? Yeah. And it's like that's the most sensitive area that you don't want your competitors to look at. They painted the whole thing white. So this is their process.
So how did you find the? Obviously, you've gone through all that process to create the livery, and then it goes out there into the world. I mean, obviously, I think I'm not just saying this because you're here. The car was universally received very positively, and I think it's considered by most people top 3 liveries on the grid. But how was that for you, seeing it be put out there into the world? Because I imagine that must have been quite
nervous every year, every single year. No, especially I joined in 2018, just out the livery would have been designed that year. And it was really, really. I love that black and yellow. Right, but when I was there, the brief was they sort of continued from 2017, and it was an evolution every year. And every year it was like Cyril and Renault were like, "We're happy with it. It's fine. It works for our partners. We don't want to change it. It works well on track. Works well on TV." That we're not going to like the Red Bull effect. You build an identity, and you see it with Mercedes. They're a brand.
100%.
Renault are a brand. They're not going to change it every year. So it was a bit gut wrenching for me because I'd done all the livery concepts and I'd finally worked in F1, and then the brief is we don't want to change it, and it's just like okay. So
it's a great livery. It's such a good livery. It's a shame we didn't have more years of it, but I do think that will also be looked back on very fondly.
No, I think the final one that we got, and you just sort of look at evolving it. I know we're derailing 100%. Off the question, but you do sort of look at it with the Renault as well. It's like, right, what can we change then? If we're not allowed to change it, we'll look what can say painting, end plates, insides yellow to make it look like the 77 car. Front plates, pinstripes, thinner lines, material finishes as well. We went from gloss and yellow to then a gloss and neon yellow, and then to pump the neon even more, we went matte and neon. And it's just stuff like that. So every year it was different. Despite every single year, you'd know in the comments would be, "Oh, what's the point of you even working for the team?" We knew that.
What are you even doing?
We do that. We'd go for a coffee after the launch, and they'd all go, "How much are you getting blamed for this, Sean?" And it was like my phone would be going off, going, "What's the point of you even working for the team? It's the same as last year, copy paste." But we know every single year that car was different. The lines were different. It was redone from the ground up. And another thing, it's about building an identity. And we saw the feedback with McLaren this year. A load of people going, "Oh, it's the same car," but I don't know if it's the designers. Like, you look at it, and it is different. Every line on that car is different, and I think they're happy now with their papaya and the blue, and it gives great sponsor exposure. So they'll I imagine, just evolve that year after year. And we've sort of noticed fans sort of love colours rather than much design intrigue. They love colours because it's how much, and it might be nostalgia, but everyone went mad for the Gulf McLaren, and really it's the same design as a normal one. The design is the same. It had an orange stripe on the nose, but the design is the same. The colour block's the same. Paint template's pretty much the same, but the colours swapped, and everyone went mad. Whereas I guarantee if we painted our car at Renault last year blue instead of black, people would have gone mad, despite the design being the same. So there's a huge difference between fan feedback on colours and actual design.
Very true.
I think, which is it's all part of it, and you've got to sort of design for it. But I knew this year, I sort of knew that after seeing the CGI renders that we'd done and everything, it was like, people are going to absolutely love this. I hope anyway, because I did as a fan, because I'm a huge Renault fan. I have been for ages, like 2003. I've been a massive Renault fan. So to have Fernando in a blue car and work on that design, I've said it a few times on Twitter. It is a dream. It is an absolute dream. So I think I tweeted about the car before it revealed, and I was like, "We've got the best looking car on the grid this year." I probably shouldn't have tweeted that, and then I saw that made it to Reddit, and then people going shocked. Alpine Designer says Alpine car's the best, and it's like, well, it won't be. It'll be the same as every year.
No bias,
I
of
think we'd
course.
launched our winter livery, which was the black one with the stripe, and people going, "Oh, it's just going to be that. It's terrible, most boring livery." But again, that design is pretty much the same as our current one, but one's blue and one's black. And
I
people
was
went
going to
mad for-
ask about that. What can you tell us about that black? Because obviously not all teams run with a, winter livery, as you call it, like a testing livery. Is that, because I know Renault, you've had an all black livery in testing for a while, right? Even with the yellow and black car. So
Yeah,
was
so
it just
last
a continuation of that?
Sort of, yeah. So last year we had the testing livery because we were waiting on a few things, and we just pitched those because I sort of pitched it a couple of years before. I was like, let's do an all black car with black sponsors, full stealth, gloss on matte, everything, and we were sort of experimenting with gloss on matte, and then it got to that stage. My boss was like, look, let's just do it. Let's do a testing livery again because they did it before I was at the team in 2017 as well. 16 when they joined. So it's like, right, let's do it, and then we'll just have the yellow numbers. That'll be it. And a lot of people go, oh, it's just a black car. When you looked at that thing, we saw that one being laid out. The matte with the black gloss, the sort of tone on tone. Oh, it was so like premium looking. I loved it. That's still my favourite one. I think that's up there with the Alpine of just how much I love, especially when Ricciardo was running his Kobe helmet in that. I just thought it was absolutely nuts. Yeah. So we sort of do that, and then it's this year it was again. They didn't want to reveal everything, but they needed to reveal the Alpine brand coming back to F1. So they did this big Renault, the Renaulution it was. So Dacia got relaunched, or Dacia. Renault got relaunched with their new logo, Alpine, new movement. So all of that, and they had to show something. So they sort of put together a lot of Paris input on that one, just to run it black. They didn't want to give everything away. So we had the A stripe at the back, but they didn't want to give the rest away. So it's sort of that, but it's worked so well. And all our test cars now, so the young drivers, Lundgaard, Joe, go out and they'll run that black livery.
Yeah.
It's nice. It's nice that because as a kid, that's the sort of thing that I used to love. It's like seeing McLaren when I'm a massive nerd, so I'm just keep going to go on about this, but I think McLaren 2006,
Crack on, mate.
5, they ran a papaya car again, just in testing.
Yes. I know what you mean.
Devil horns and the fat nose. And it's
good.
just like stuff like that. It's those little sort of, I call them like collectibles, little one-off editions.
Yeah.
I love it. I absolutely love
the Red Bull ones that they've done over time, all the camo, like, I know people say like, oh, I wish they'd do that for the real car, but it's kind of like with the Golf McLaren. I think the fact that it's a one-off, and I mean, I know, word on the grapevine, McLaren have got another one-off coming later this year. I can not confirm nor deny, but that's what I've heard. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if kind of moving forward, because again, essentially, I know it's like livery design. I love livery design, I love football kits, but essentially they are just advertising boards, right?
Yeah, they're essentially fourth kits. You can go a bit crazy, you go out there. There's no regulations in testing. There's no regulations for the car, and there's no livery regulations. So you can run whatever you want in testing. And you can throw people off. I think Red Bull did that with the car. They painted exhaust ports on it. So it's stuff like that, where the livery and paint can have an impact. But yeah, I absolutely love stuff like that. So the more the better. I do like the idea of one-off events. I know the toll that would take on the paint shop and design team and to get stuff turned around. And then McLaren had a lot of time on that Gulf to get that turned over, because you'd have questions after like, well, McLaren can do it. Can we do something? And it's just like, we haven't got enough time or whatever. You need so much prep. I'd love that to be a one-off event or heritage weekend where people can run either new sponsors.
So good.
It doesn't have to be a heritage car, because people are going, well, what will Haas run? It's like, well, they can run whatever they want. They can get a sponsor just for that event. They can do an art car and stuff like that. I think BAR used to run graffiti cars for Davidson in testing, and stuff like that. So people go, you can have a heritage weekend, but some teams can't do it. Yes, they can. They can create their own heritage and bring out something like that. So yeah, I'd be all for that. But I know the turnarounds, especially for something like Monaco, which I think has a week gap. It's the next weekend afterwards. So the turnaround the McLaren guys did, hats off to them to get that painted to such a tight race like Monaco as well. And then to get that turned around, repainted back for the next race. Unbelievable job. So yeah, massive hats off to them.
I guess you got to think about ultimately the job of delivery is to maximise eyeballs on the car for the sponsors. And obviously that Golf partnership with McLaren, when that was initially announced, like, whenever it was, like at the beginning of the year. I remember when it was announced and they had the pictures with the McLaren at the Golf like petrol station and that, and it was cool. And like people saw it and it was like, okay, cool. And then you saw this little Golf logo on the car and it was like, okay, cool. But it was just another logo on the car. And then when they did that, all of a sudden now Golf McLaren is, I imagine searches for Golf and brand recognition for Golf has jumped significantly. So I guess it's up to the brand. If Alpine were to do a similar thing, it's like, what's the payoff? Because I suppose you've already got this new livery. So out of the lineup of 10 cars, yours is already the most unique. So I suppose maybe once you've got it for a few years, I guess then having a special edition would make it, I don't know, you get more value out of that, I guess. I don't know, I'm just thinking aloud.
No, I completely. And you can sort of see, we keep talking about the crossovers, but when football do special events like the Jordan kits and the Jordan drop for PSG, McLaren did a huge Golf drop. And their fans go absolutely mad for their merch, and
I've got the hat.
Oh, there you go. You're one of them.
I'm one of those suckers.
Every other team can see that and can see that the launch that these brands are getting, and the exposure you can get from crossovers. And it's not just F1, and like it's football, and I'm sure it'll be 100%. Loads of other sports that will just combine and cross over and do additions and stuff like that. So I think we're going to see a lot more. I hope anyway, because it means more work for us. Keeps us busy.
True.
It allows us to hopefully be a bit more creative and get a bit more loose.
True. And so what are you working on? I mean, I imagine obviously you're working currently on, what is it? Because I've seen on Alpine, on your socials, those CGI renders before each race, which, mate, they look so good. Like,
the posters. Oh, man, the posters. We've set ourselves up for that one because we did
It must be a nightmare, man.
Yeah. So every year we do a theme. We'll try and pick a theme, and we'll all chip in. We'll all pitch ideas and stuff like that. And this year, because I've been getting into the CGI, I was like, all right, what if we do? And my senior designer as well found this cool poster online. It looked like a cyberpunk sort of text, and there was a sort of city coming out of the ground. And I was like, right, what if we make the ground? I think it just said Bahrain was the first one. So we all did mock-ups of Bahrain. So I just made Bahrain come out of the ground, made it look like a sort of city filled with buildings, just plonked McLaren in the middle of it. It's really simple. I was like, we can do that. And then if the car sort of zooms out, then it'll say Bahrain from the top, but then it'll also be in the city where everything's made out of the words Bahrain. I was like, that'd be quite cool, I think. And then we can do like cameras, not knowing the work that this will be. And then that sort of got, I think we fed all our ideas back to Paris and they went, right, yeah. Alpine's sort of going in a future direction. We want to be really out there, avant-garde. So we'll go with this one. It needs to be developed a lot more. So like, right, okay. So we do that, and then the prep. I think it's something mad. The RAM on it was something like 64 gig of RAM it was using just to open the file. So some of my boss's computer doesn't even open them. We did that. We got that done just in time, and the animation. My senior designer is really, really good at the sort of CAD modelling and getting cameras and stuff like that set up. So he does all the modelling. I do all the texturing, all the post-production and stuff like that. So it's a nice little team element that we've got sort of going. But yeah, every single weekend I'm working on these posters. I think that they have to go out on social at 10 o'clock on a Monday morning. And some posters I've been working on till 3, 4 in the morning just to get done in all the different social sizes. Yeah, and especially when we've got triple headers and stuff like that, and it's like, right, we need to do 2 Austria posters. This,
oh no!
Different. And it's just like the rendering time as well. And then my boss has to use like one of the servers at Alpine to just render out the frames. And it'll be something like, I think the first animation I did at home, and that was something like 29 hours for a 30-second clip. And it's just like, right, we've set ourselves up now. We've got 23 races. So Japan
made a rod for your own back, mate.
That's fine. That's fine, boys. That's one less race that we have to worry about. But it's nice.
Does that take up most of your time at the moment then, would you say?
Pretty much, yeah, I'd say so. Yeah, especially my senior designer who has so much other stuff to do, and as well as model these. These are sort of vanity projects. I think they've become, but they're popular. I think they're the most popular ones we've done since we've started doing them. And the team did them just before
They're so cool, man.
And it's nice to do something different, and we see it all the time. Every team post theirs, and Alfa Romeo do theirs brilliantly. I think they've used the same artist for like 3 years, and it's been the same for 3 years. Ferrari again,
Yeah.
4 years now with the same artist, and it's the same every year. They look brilliant, and they're properly artistically amazing, which we couldn't do because we just don't have the capacity. You'd have to have a specialist, and they do hire specialists to do that. So for us to do that in-house, as well as everything else that we do, and try and create something fresh, new every year. Sometimes they land, sometimes they don't. I mean, the stick that we've had on a few of them, it's been pretty brutal, but it's at the end of the day, it's who's happy with it, and it's our board being happy, it's our marketing team happy with it, so that keeps us busy. That they like it, and partners as well. I think partners we do partners,
of course.
So it's something great for them to have. So it keeps it ticking along. A lot of people ask, well, what's the point of teams doing posters? But it's getting, like you said, eyeballs not only on the car but on the team. The social media is such a huge element of everything now.
Yeah, of course.
Absolutely everything. So it's just doing something innovative. And Chris does really well at this on his social graphics. He tries to innovate, and he does every year. We'll put something new out. He's doing some really awesome 3D camera stuff with that at the moment. And every year he evolves. And we see other teams try and play catch up, or they'll innovate, and we'll look at, right, how can we do that and do that? It's a constant battle of observing what teams do and what others do. And it's nice that all of our stuff is in-house. We know a lot of guys use agencies or whatever, so we do take a lot of pride. Like I say, we're a team of 4. It's not a huge team for a big company such as Renault or Alpine. So I think we do quite well out of what we've got resource-wise to keep on top of everything.
Yeah, mate, for sure. And again, obviously with the whole feedback stuff, I guess you've got the way I look at it is like, a good YouTube thumbnail isn't necessarily a good piece of graphic design. I mean, some of the most successful like YouTube videos with like millions of views, which has a great thumbnail from a graphic design point of view, could be trash. But and I feel like in terms of people's perception, like you were saying about color, it's like, yeah, color is more important to design. But for guys like us who are like, we're graphic designers by like trade, so we're kind of focused on these tiny little intricacies where actually if you just change the color, then you're going to get more people, just like, you know, normal people who aren't designers looking at it and being like, I love it, you know what I mean? So it's kind of measuring
it's something that you've done really well in your channel, and I said this to you right at the start. It's really good that you're graphically consistent on absolutely everything, and everything looks premium. You've got set color scheme. It's like you had this big plan before you started. And it is good to see it carry on and just evolve nicely. And it's that sort of layout and consistency. It is like a brand. It's like a team's branded it. It's because you see guys in it, the stuff's different every week, and they'll put polls onto it going, "Oh, which thumbnail should I use this week?" And you've got to be confident in your own work, and it's clear with yours that you are, and it's paying dividends, stuff like that, because you do have that. You become your own brand.
Yeah. Well, it's whenever someone sees that pink thumbnail pop up on their homepage.
Yeah, exactly.
Or
whatever, you have a relationship with that brand. Yeah.
Yeah. And well, you say that, like, it's one of them things. And I always found that because as much as, again, like I was working, like after I graduated, I was working up until the start of this year as a graphic designer for most of that time. I did a bit of photography, a bit of animation, a bit of video editing, but mainly graphic design. But I've always actually been quite... I've never been that much of a perfectionist. I think perfectionism, and I wanted to ask you about this because in terms of like the creative process that you go through, because I think it's kind of a double-edged sword, because obviously you need to set standards and you need to make sure you're putting out and not making mistakes and delivering consistent work. But also I think, and a lot of people I've worked with over the years fall victim to being so caught up in like one project. So for example, the pink and grey was a very kind of off the cuff decision at the start, but I was like, I'm just going to stick to it. And with my videos, like I edit them all myself, and I've had a little bit of help in the past, but now I edit them all myself, and I'm very kind of, I don't know, I'm very much, I'll put it out there, learn from it, and then apply it to the next thing.
Yeah. No, I think with my work, and like I said, or you point out, it's like, how do I get the time to do all my concept stuff and my job? And it's like, I don't know how I do sleep sometimes. I do still manage to. So I work full-time for Alpine. That's 9 to 5 or 8 till 5. Plus weekends on posters. I also work as the only designer for Dragon Formula E as well. So I do all their branding.
Nice.
That's I've done them for before I was at Renault. So I love
Yeah.
that. So that's nice because I've
You've got
sort of got
that cross
control
livery,
over
right? The
everything.
red and white.
Yes, yeah.
Love that one.
That's been popular as well, which is nice to see that the Alpine and everything. And then Rosberg as well. I've got a contract with them, so I'm the livery designer, suits, race team, everything for them. Red Bull North America as well.
Bloody hell, mate.
Yeah, it's
Keep
a
busy,
lot. So
didn't you?
I've got essentially like 4 full-time jobs that I run, and a kid, and a rabbit. So yeah, it's a lot to sort of get in. But I
Juggle.
play football every Thursday. I go to the pub when I can. Out of lockdown, I take
That's good,
weekends
man.
off to spend with my family.
Got to make time for yourself.
I just work. I think I don't know. It's not alien to me because I did the same at uni when I did car design. I work as fast as I can, and I found that's been the biggest help. And not set me apart because I don't know too many people that do it else, but I know I can get a concept out in an hour or 20 minutes or whatever. I know livery design, so I can just do straight away. And I know a lot of that is, a lot of people will say, well, it's quantity over quality, but to me, I don't care because it's not for anyone. I don't put my concept work out there for anyone. I was doing it anyway. I did it as a hobby. So I was doing automotive design at uni, Cov, and then I was working my job as an automotive designer for a little agency in Coventry. And I just started putting retro liveries on F1 cars. Set my own little Instagram page. I knew a couple of mates took the piss out of me, going, "Oh, Sean Ball liveries." They'd say that with mic and PlayStation and stuff like that. Or that when I turned up, like, "Oh, Sean Ball liveries, how you doing?" And stuff like that. And I'd had like 500 followers, whatever. And then it just sort of picked up. And I managed to get a few commissions. I got Red Bull. So the American guys was actually to look at some golf clothing, not livery or anything like that. So that was good. And then I had a really good relationship with Red Bull in America. They sent me and my wife to LA just like that because they asked, like, "Do you fancy coming? We'll pay. We'll send you over." So that was surreal. I was like, "Yes."
Not a bad offer.
So stuff like that, and then it sort of picked up, and it got to the point where I was like, "Well, I can do this. I'm enjoying this more than designing cars anymore." And then there was a job offer, or not a job offer. There was a job advertised at Renault. It's only an intern role, and I was like, I can go for that. It was terrible money for a 1 year contract. And I was like, what, I'm gonna risk it. I'll bin more because I had a good job doing car design. I liked the team I was in. I was only in a team of 3. A lot of responsibility, and I'll bin that. I'll do what I actually want to do. So I did. I gambled that for a year, intern wages for a year, but you get there. It was nice because my boss was like, "Are you sure you want this? Because it's an intern. We can't do it." So I did that for a year, looked it away, and then another year pretty much on the same money, and then it's third year. It's like, right, we can hire you full time now, and it's nice to have that feeling of, right, I've sort of proved that I can do it. Because I'm not a graphic designer at all. It's not what I do. I did cars. I did CGI cars. That's why it's sort of nice to sort of find this motorsport niche.
Right. So you can like blend the two now.
Yeah. So lots of stuff like Illustrator. I didn't even know how to
man.
use it when I joined Renault. I had to ask. I was like, right, I've got no idea, guys. I do cars. So it's nice now. And a lot of the posters last year were completely Illustrator, and I was happy that I could just do those by hand. And I'm as fluent in Illustrator now as I am in Photoshop, which is nice. And it's that internship I always see as a sort of a university course that Renault paid me on how to be a graphic designer. And so it was worth it. It was nice to see.
That's so cool, man.
So all of that, and then my concept art on the side. Like I said, I did that anyway. So I just keep doing it anyway. And it's not like I'm going to go, right, I'm going to focus on this project this week, and then I'm going to, which would be nice. And if I had more free time, and if I probably didn't work full time for all my clients, I probably would spend more time and effort getting every fine detail right. But it'll be something that's like, oh, I want to do a Koenigsegg livery. I'll just knock it up, send it over to my PC, get it rendered by lunch, post it. If people like it, they like it. If they don't, that's fine by me. But I want to put it out there because I like having my little collections. I like just scrolling through. It gives me ideas. It's essentially like a big Pinterest board for me. And I'll have so many of my clients will come up to me and go, "Oh, we love this Koenigsegg livery that you did on this. Can you do it on our Le Mans car? Can you do it on our GT car or something like that?" And it helps that way. So putting that many concepts out there, so many of my clients have picked up those concepts and gone, "Right, we'll have this, please."
One of them, please. Yeah.
Change it, and it's stuff like that. So that really helps, and it doesn't take too much out of my time to do. So I'll carry on doing it. And I mentioned to you before, so I don't ever People don't know my face. I'm fine with that. I don't really put opinions out there on Twitter, anything like that. I'll just put my work out there, put my work on Instagram, leave it, just let people enjoy it.
But that's what, again, people who follow you, like, they know what to expect. They just, you know, if you're following Sean, you're going to see some mad shit hot liveries every now and then that are going to pop up on your feed, and you know, you're going to like them, you're not going to like them. But I think kind of the effort you put in it, I've definitely noticed kind of since I started following your stuff, like the progression as well in terms of building in the CGI stuff on top of just doing the mock-ups with the RSS and elevating it to that next level. But it sounds like as well, you know, you going from what you said was a good solid job to go down to an intern level is essentially, because obviously that's a risk, but you've done all these things, it sounds like, for the right reasons. You know, you work on this stuff in your free time because it's something you love doing. In the same way
I'm lucky enough that my job is my hobby, and there's not many people that can say that. I know some people can and they love it, but I do every single day. Like I said, my boss called me a bobble hat or an anorak, and I'm a massive fan for it. I supported Renault as a kid, so to work for Renault now or Alpine, it's like, and it sounds so cliche and cringy, but it's like supporting Man United as a kid and playing for Man United. I know I'm not a driver, but I am in that team. You do feel part of a big team, and to have an impact and see people's reception, and it's really surreal. And to have people sort of know who I am is very, very surreal. I've never sort of done it for that. I don't care about that. I get very, very embarrassed when people bring it up or go, "Oh, it's this, you're Sean Ball."
Mate, I'm still the same.
Yeah, I hate it. I really, really don't like it. That's why I don't put my face out there. Like that. I'm just not the grid, and it's nice. And you hear people look at the Dragon car going, "Oh, this is a sick livery. This is really, really good." And I was sort of sat there next to them going, "Oh, I designed that," but I didn't say anything because it was just nice to sort of observe from a distance, and that's what I like to. I like to see what people think from a distance. I'm not in it to become famous or whatever. It's a nice consequence, and I can't believe how many like Instagram or Twitter followers. It doesn't make sense to me.
What are you on Instagram now, follower wise? Yours is flying, mate. I'm sure the last time I checked it was
152, which is mad. So I thought when I joined Renault, I thought I was going to completely die. Because I can't do concepts for other teams. I can't do McLaren concepts. And it kills me. Because every year I see it like gets to launch season, you do it. And I'm like, oh, I want to do it. I want to show what I think this McLaren should look like. Or why has he done that? He needs to do it. And I'm like, I can't do that anymore. And I thought my page would absolutely die. I thought, that's it. No more concepts for other teams. But I've managed to get by. Thankfully, my boss is really cool with it. And he's like, as long as it's no other F1 team, do what you want. It's like, it's good practice for you. And that happened with so I managed to do the CGI launch renders for the car this year for Alpine, simply because in my own spare time I was like, right, I'm going to learn this program, because I thought it's getting more and more photorealistic. I'd seen a few of other designers like Kaiser Salim, stuff like that, and I spoke to them, and they're sort of my heroes when I was at uni. So to be able to speak to them and ask them hints is really quite surreal in that. So I spoke to them and sort of learnt that program on my own in my spare time as well as everything else. And then I went to my boss and I was like, right, there's this program, it's this much, can we get it? Because we can do this with it. And he's like, right, okay, I'll get the budget, do that. And then it's sort of repaying that trust of, right, we can do this now, we can do the launch renders in-house. And it sort of adds to what we can do. So those shots with the blue and red lights, I was really, really happy with. Ages and ages on that. To get those through. So to have that is from joining sort of as an intern and then sort of being shown the ropes and being allowed more and more freedom to sort of being allowed to do the CG launch renders was a big thing for me. I know that sounds really, again,
not at all.
For me to have that, and that's out there forever now. Every time you see it on TV or someone shares it, I remember that, and it's a nice feeling. It is a nice feeling. I enjoy what I do, and it's nice to see it received well. So.
Yeah. Well, you can tell because the amount of work you put in, you wouldn't do it if you didn't love it. Also, I want to 2003 Renault fan. What was it that pulled you in? Were you a big, was it who was driving in 2003? Was Alonso already at the team? And Trulli?
Yeah, Alonso and Trulli. And it was the launches they had. I think Renault had a launch control, but wasn't allowed or something like that. and every time they just get off the lines so well. And it was always, I've been watching since a tiny kid. I remember like Damon Hill, stuff like that as a tiny kid. Because I remember I used to tell my dad I supported Schumacher just to annoy him because he was the bad guy. So it's going from that, and then it's sort of, it was always McLaren, Williams, BMW, and Ferrari. It'd be those three winning everything. Occasionally BAR, but then Renault sort of. I love the colours, and then they'd be launching off the grid. Alonso and Trulli, I thought was really cool with the headbands and stuff like that. I still really want to find a Mile 7 headband somewhere. And it's stuff like that. And then seeing Alonso win, sounds convoluted, but my mum's work colleague, her husband works in the wind tunnel at Renault and has done for years. And he used to send me stuff. Wow. He used to get me like driver cards or like his old team gear once it was out. It'd be miles too big for me, but if it was like, I've got a Mile 7 jacket or the ING stuff with all the tropical colours, I'd get all that. That'd
be worth a fortune now.
Yeah, I've still got them all somewhere.
Really? Oh,
yeah,
right.
Of course.
Good lad.
So to have all that and then that connection. And then I did work experience at Renault in the wind tunnel as a modeller when I was about 15 for 2 weeks. There.
Sorry, when you said that, I thought you meant like posing for pictures. For
not that beautiful.
In the wind tunnel, imagine. How aerodynamic you, Sean Ball?
Almost. Not slippery enough anymore. Yeah. And then to sort of have that connection with the team, and then to go back there and now work there, yeah, like it is. I'm living my dream. I don't think, I love that team. I love that team. I mean, my work colleagues, great. Have a really good relationship. I've become friends with them, proper friends. Yeah, it's really nice. It is nice.
I didn't realise there was like a full story in terms of like your connection to that team as well. Because who were they? Because that Enstone team, who was it before Renault bought them out again? I can't remember.
So it's gone Tolman with Senna in the 80s, and then Benetton bought them, and then Renault bought Benetton.
Yeah, of course.
And then it was Lotus for a bit, and then it was back to Renault. Yeah.
When there was 2 Lotuses on the grid, that was weird, wasn't
Very
it?
strange.
Not one. Very strange times. Well, obviously, Sean, I mean, you're in this position, and obviously you working the dream, having a job that, I think a lot of people watching watch for my kind of livery videos as well. I guess best question really is kind of what would you, for anyone watching, listening who has similar ambitions, kind of based off your journey, what advice, what recommendations would you give to any kind of youngsters watching who want to follow the Sean Ball path,
Well, there's loads now, because I was quite lucky when I started. I sort of found a niche. I think it was 2 of the designers that really did it and did concept art. So now there's absolutely hundreds everywhere, and their level's really, really good. I have to watch my back because everyone's catching up super fast, you included.
I've got enough time I wish I had more time, but I'll bloody edit the videos as well. So,
and it's people are getting there on their own. And I'm seeing some of these, and I'm chatting on the net. They're like kids. They're absolute kids. They've not even gone to uni and stuff like that. So I was like, right, you've got about 10 years on me. You'll be working for the team.
I feel like that all the time.
And it's just making most of your own time. It's something that annoys me when like people go, I haven't got time for this. There's always, and I know my wife says I'm an absolute workaholic, but I still make time for my family. I make time for my friends, go play football, pub, whatever. And it's just, there is always enough time to do what you want. If you've ever got spare time, you've got time to just change what you want to do. If you want to pick up a hobby like I did with that, there is time to do it. So
I couldn't agree more, mate.
Working fast is the difference. So there's that you can pore over details for hours and make sure everything's precise. And look, you used the wrong logo on this, whatever. But at the end of the day, that's not what gets eyeballs on it or what gets people interested. It's getting your work out there and getting your work seen, and then it will get seen by some people. Mark Antar. Like a few years ago he started, and he's got some brilliant commissions. He got the Mahindra Formula E commission, Lance Stroll's helmet this year, and he's very, very similar to a good guy. We've chatted to him loads on this, and it's just getting your work seen, and it just needs a few retweets by some big people, and then that's it. All it takes one team to go, can you do our livery? And you do at the start. You start taking commissions for hardly any money at all because you don't know how to price yourself, but you just want to get in the game and stuff like that. And then in the end, I'm very lucky. I'm never sourced out a commission. And like every client I've had is someone that's approached me.
Come to you. Yeah.
So I don't have the time to
cool.
email everyone or spam everyone or take on new projects. But it's nice to get like companies like Hyundai to contact me and do their rally car. It's just that's so surreal,
mate.
to have that in such a
That
big company
I
like that.
think that Hyundai is my favourite of any piece of work that you've done.
I think it's mine as well. It's the most development. It's the most thought out
good.
design as well. The concept behind that, I don't know if it's obvious. Went through lots of different themes with them, and everything sort of had to have a design meaning. They invited me to Frankfurt to their design museum so I could understand Hyundai, and I was like, I can't.
Wow.
I'm still at work.
Wow.
I work full time. I was like, I can't just fly to Frankfurt. Anyway, so it was developing those themes, and we had one theme, and it was I'd taken a shot of the car, and in the background there was all these mountains. I think it was Monte Carlo. And it was like, I love all these mountains and the graphics, and you've got the depth of the mountains. So I was like, we could use the colours there. So I think you have black, the neon, and then the sort of darker blue. And it's like you could layer those up in the mountains and stuff like that. And then there was another theme where they said you could do what you want. So I did this glitch effect livery where everything was sort of ripped through the car. So in the end, they were like, right, we like both of these. Can you combine them? So that was what it was. It was this sort of I applied a glitch filter to the car. So the entire thing, bodywork and all, was distorted and ripped. And then I took that and I cut out the ripped effect of the mountains, and then that's what ended up being on the side of the car. So there's a lot of thought sort of in that, and it's nice to, and they've really pushed me. Hyundai really tried to challenge me design-wise, and so that was probably the best brief and commission I've had, and to get that. So that's probably, I've got a model on that just on my desk, and that's probably my favourite one. That and this year's Dragon are probably my two favourites.
Yeah.
Alpine as well, but that's like a team event. The Alpine is 100% a team.
Yeah.
There's so many people involved in an F1 team, whereas the others, it is sort of, it is me. And it's nice to have the feedback, and it's also nice to work in a team. Because you get two different approaches. You get reined in as a team. There's so much more, especially F1. You realise as well, because I've done Formula E before, and I've done everything for Dragon, team kit, race suits, everything. I was like, okay, Formula 1 will be the same, and it's just not. It is such a different level to absolutely everything. Like I said earlier, painting front wings, stuff like how thin the paint has to be. You can't do this because it will go over a shut line where the engine cover is. You can't do this because the number needs to be this big. So it's such a intrinsic level with so many people involved. It's NASA level. It is completely, and it is a shock to the system when you go there and you go, oh, well, I've done this in Formula 2, and they go, okay, it's like kids' toys.
They laugh you out the room.
Compared. Yeah, if you have an idea that worked on an F2 car, it's not going to work in F1 and stuff like that. So, yeah.
Well, I've been banging on about Hyundai getting into F1 for a long time now. So, I mean, whether it will happen or not, I think it should. I'm not asking you to answer this question, but I'm just saying that I read an article saying that Alpine are talking about potentially supplying some new Formula 1 teams' engines. But I'm not going to ask you about that because I know you don't say anything.
I don't know. I hope there is.
And even if you did know, you wouldn't tell me.
No, we would be so above our pay grade. We'd be the last to find out. You'd know more than we would, I think.
Also, I want to ask as well, and again, are you working on 2022 stuff?
Oh yeah, definitely, 100%.
Excited.
It's so far ahead in everything. We're working on 2022 stuff for F1, Formula E, Rosberg, with Extreme. Everything's full in swing next year already. We're so far ahead of the curve. You don't get any time to sort of stop.
It's so just exciting knowing that it's been worked on. I love that.
Yeah, you don't really stop. You'll have a few months off, and then it's back. And especially now with shutdown, and like I said, we're the only guys pretty much still there. That's what we can do. Everyone's sort of off our back for a bit, so we can sort of look and start working through concepts and stuff like that. So it'd be interesting to see what we can follow up, what we've done this year with the new cars, because you can't just copy and paste. It'd be interesting to see what teams try and copy and paste their liveries onto these new cars, because a lot of stuff just won't work.
I was going to ask you about this because when we saw the 2022 car at Silverstone, all of the teams, apart from Ferrari, put out renders of concepts of their current liveries on the current cars. Like, which ones did you think worked and which ones do you think maybe didn't so well?
So F1 did those for us, I think. So we didn't get involved with those, but it was sort of nice to see. It was a huge, big promo push from them. I was interested why Ferrari didn't. But there is some.
They're always funny about things, aren't they?
Work well because they fit the car. And you look at the Mercedes and the way the sort of Petronas line sweeps down. That fits their current car, so that would be tough to adapt over that. Ours is if you break it down, ours is a simple livery. It's a blue car, high carbon line, orange stripe. You put that orange stripe, you look at them, and the reason I think it also works well is people know that sort of that angled rear stripe from a Marlboro McLaren.
Yeah.
And it works. It works on so many of their year's chassis, so that could work on next year's car. And I thought that worked well. It was interesting to see the approach that they did on the Aston Martin, because Aston Martin has so much exposed carbon, and they sort of tried to fake that on the side pods, where they sort of made this fake paint line and where the turning vanes would be, and it sort of stuff like that won't work anymore next year. And yeah, it'll be very interesting to see what gets painted and what doesn't, especially how curved those rear wings are. And I've played around with a few of the 2022 concepts on my own social stuff, and you see everything is sort of that rear wings facing downwards, so everything's sort of in shadow, everything's distorted. So it'll be interesting to see where partners go and where they move from. There's no turning vanes, no barge boards, no fighter pilot wings on the car anymore. It's going to be interesting where all those sponsors go, especially like Aston Martin or McLaren, who are rammed with sponsors in those areas. Where they now get on the car, because they're going to have equal worth. I'm sure their acquisitions teams are working massively hard on that, but it'd be really interesting to see what teams try and shoehorn their current livery onto it next year.
Well, I like to think we'll see a bit of innovation, hopefully. I mean, the Red Bull one I thought was actually one of the more underwhelming ones on the new car. I don't think the current design fits so much, and
especially how flat that nose is. They're going to have to really. They've always had the balls overlap on the nose every year.
Yeah,
they've always had a high nose, even back in 2009, even before that, 07, 08. They've always had enough space to put the balls on the side of the nose. Now it's almost flush. So it'll be really interesting to see what their team do that and put with that, because they're going to have a golden nose on the car like they do on all their other brands and sporting liveries. So really exciting for what they do. AlphaTauri as well. They're a new brand, and it's good to see them evolve every year. I think I preferred the previous one to this one. But it'd be nice to see how they sort of adapt theirs. It'd be interesting again to see if McLaren carry on with their identity and evolve it for a third year and try and nail something consistent. Because they had, like I said, they went Marlboro to West for 10 years each, Chrome, Vodafone, 10 years. And then they had that weird bit where they had not quite a McLaren orange with the big boomerang on it, and then they had just an orange car, which everyone seems to love, just orange. And then they had the sort of triangles at the back, and then they did it's sort of, and it seems now they're happy with the design they've got. It works really well, and it'll be interesting to see if they try and keep this for 10 years.
I actually preferred the adaptation on the 2022 car that F1 put out compared to on the current car. I think on the current car, I'm not a massive fan of it, but on the 2022 one, I thought it worked really nicely. But like you say, I think legacy wise, I think they'll probably keep that, won't they? I'll be surprised.
And you've got these teams now that focus so much on their marketing impact that they can and they have to. They're almost sort of made to it. And the best guys I think that are at this is Mercedes. From a distance and from the silhouette, I know they've gone with the black car for the last couple of years. You look at their cars from probably not 2010, 2011 to now, and from a distance, trackside, grandstand, it's the same car. Silver car, teal through it, carbon, bit of black, gradient. It's the same car, but every single one is different. And it's good that they allow their designers the freedom. Sometimes they land, sometimes they don't, like the AMG this year. But every car, it's something new every year. And I really, really respect that from Mercedes, that they are bold enough to go, right, we know that we're going to have these colour blocking. Silver, teal, black. We have to have that. What can we do to reinvent it? What can we do better? So I'm excited for what they do, because they change it up every year, but every year it's the same. So I think they've got it nailed. Ferrari, it'll be interesting to see what they do. I don't know if Mission Winow's staying with them next year or whether that deal expires this year. So you see how much control. So I think they own the livery or something like that. It seems like there's a deal whether they're in charge of the livery or it might be internal. I'm not sure.
But also, they were having some legal issues in Italy, as far as I heard. Hence why it was barely on the car at all last year. It's been on the car a bit more this year. So I'm not really sure how that works out. But I think that 2019 Mercedes, for me particularly, that's one of my favourites of recent
Yeah,
times.
19 and 20. It's so good. So good.
Beautiful car. Want to briefly now talk about kind of, before we get onto the quickfire questions towards the end, what are your thoughts around this season? And obviously, particularly, we've just come off the Hungarian Grand Prix. Esteban Ocon, race winner, which I was very happy about because I pulled for Esteban this year. I was absolutely gassed that he won. But obviously, your team have won a race for the first time since... When was your last win?
I think the actual team, Enstone, was 2013 with Kimi.
13.
And before that, it was Alonso in Fuji in 2008 for actual Renault. So a long time coming. It's nice for my boss as well. Like I said, he was at Caterham, so he'd never even seen a point in Formula One before he joined Renault. His team was there for 5 years. They didn't even get a point. So it's nice for him to have a win. Chris as well, I think that's his first win. He's had like one podium, I think, where Grosjean got a podium for Lotus before. That's sort of all they've seen. But yeah, my first win, I say mine. Feels a bit weird saying that, but you're part of the team. It wasn't me who was driving the car, but it's nice. You are. It is a team sport at the end of the day. We all play our part. So it was nice for that. But yeah, I missed the entire thing. So I was out, we went shopping for, I think we got like paints and crayons for my daughter at Hobbycraft. We went there and I was like, right, I'll miss the race, I'll watch it later. And then my phone just exploded. Just everyone sending me screenshots going, how are your trousers? And stuff like that. Are you coping? Are you ready? And then I was like, I bet you're absolutely amazing. My brother-in-law was messaging me going, I can't believe Esteban's done it. I was like, right, well, I might as well look now on Twitter. So the whole race I didn't know. And then watching the highlights later, I'm glad I didn't, because my heart, I don't think would have been able to take it. My heart only just took the Euros final, let alone 60 laps of Vettel, about an inch behind Ocon the whole race.
Honestly, I was doing backseat driver with Veloce, and that's what made it harder, because he was leading most of the race. It was the constant like, oh, is he going to lose it?
I wish I'd
on
seen
his
it
arse
live.
the whole time.
I wish I'd seen it live. Hopefully it happens again. But yeah, the tension. I remember last year, the tension of Ricciardo trying to hold on to third or second and stuff like that. It was mad. So let alone a race win, especially the drives that Fernando put in as well. I'm so glad he's sort of proven that he's still at that level. I think the bike crash, I don't know, it might have done, it might not, seem to have shook him a bit more and taken him a bit longer to get back on. But lately, I think he's out-qualified Esteban in all but one. And he's driving just as quick.
6.5 to Fernando in quali.
For what was he, 40 years old now? 2 years out of the sport?
2 years out of the sport.
Yeah. You saw Schumacher. I know Schumacher had
it's crazy.
A bike crash and did his collarbone, but you saw Schumacher's performance against Rosberg in that Mercedes compared to Fernando's this year. It'll be really interesting next year. So I'm hoping we do well. I'm really, really hoping we're the dark horse team. I think we spent a lot of time getting ready for next year. And the whole big Renault plan is about this new regs. So I'm hoping we're a bit like when Red Bull jumped from sort of midfield. They couldn't get out of that midfield in 07, 08, and then new regs came in. They'd spent all their time. I think they finished behind Toro Rosso that previous year because they just bailed on it and they'd focused all on 09. And since those 09 regs, they've been up there and they've stayed there. So I'm hoping it's the same for us. It allows us our regs to, because it's a midfield sort of mire. You just can't jump when everyone's sort of spending the same money every year after year, unless you spend so much more money.
Yes.
And what's the point with the cost cap coming? There's no point of overreaching just to catch up to then be reset by the regs again. So I'm hoping we're doing it the right way, and we start challenging for wins regularly next year. I'd love to see Alonso just in a championship fight again, because I think he's had so many years that he should have been there and dragging dogs of cars to 2012. I still
2012 was
can't get over that final race. I remember watching that in a Weatherspoons with my mates, and it was just screaming on table. Yeah, absolutely. So missed chances and stuff like that. So to give him one last chance, I'd love it, and I'd love it to be in a blue Alpine car again. Yeah, be a nice little symmetry from beginning to end.
Yeah. I mean, look, I think you've got the driver pairing again. Like going into this year, my expectations for Fernando were he'd have an all right season. I didn't
I
think.
know. I talked to you about this
But
pre-season.
yeah, because a lot of me was like, I've always rated Esteban. I think Esteban was very unfortunate to lose his seat, and then he was out for a bit, and it's always difficult to come in. And obviously alongside Ricardo had already had a full year, hadn't he, when Esteban jumped in? So I think, you know, in a lot of people's minds, if you listen to Twitter, you know, which you shouldn't listen to Twitter, but in a lot of people's minds, he wasn't the driver at a top caliber. But I think that this year he's proven, like his first kind of 5 races were fantastic. Yes, he had that lull, but obviously we know about the chassis suspension issues, and you know, P9 at Silverstone in a race win. And
I think you're seeing that an awful
crazy.
lot. Is drivers taking a year to adapt to their cars. We've seen Ricardo now with McLaren. That no way is that his performance level and stuff like that. And you saw Esteban. He'd had a year,
Also,
2 years out, and it's taken him a year. Towards the end of 20, he was up there with Ricardo. I think
he was almost matching him quali pace.
Yeah, so I think it is. It's going to take a year for these guys to sort of adapt. That's why I'm excited to see how Fernando does next year, as well in the big reset. But it's nice to see, and obviously Mercedes kept Ocon. They kept him as the third driver after his year out. He was there. He's doing sim days, stuff like that, and they wouldn't value him and wouldn't look at him in that way if they didn't think he was that sort of top level talent. They wouldn't sponsor him. Because I think he was actually a Renault or a Lotus Academy member, and then Mercedes took him.
Renault picked him up when he was like 13.
Yeah, top 10. I think his junior career is top level.
Beat Verstappen in GP3.
Yeah, exactly. So I think he is up there. I think it'll be interesting if we do give him a championship fighting car. You saw the flashes when he was in the Force India and Racing Point, or just Force India, that he can do it. And I think you've got that top level crop, and then you've got sort of like the new block kids of like Lando, Russell, Verstappen. I don't know if he is new block. He's still young enough, but yeah, it's that Gasly. I think Ocon's definitely in that group. I remember ages ago, I think it was Australian Grand Prix, and Ted's notebook. We was walking through after the race, and he went past this little table, and he was like, "Right, you need to watch out for these 3 drivers because they are going to be huge in Formula One." And it was Gasly, Ocon, and Leclerc sat on the table. And it's like, oh, right. So, and to see all 3 of those now race winners is mad. The French Revolution, I know he's Monegasque, but yeah.
That is crazy. No, I honestly think that, I think you're onto a good thing, and hopefully, well...
And he's French as well, which helps massively.
True. But we know the paint job's going to be great. We know the driver lineup's going to be great. Let's just hope that the car brings it all together, because I think we want to see, you know, again, the whole point of the new regs is that it closes the field up and it gives everyone a chance to win. But I'm just so ridiculously impressed by Fernando, like, honestly.
Yeah, sorry, my daughter's outside the door trying to knock her way in. I hope so. It just needs to close up. Again, like 2009 did, and it'd be really interesting to see how Mercedes and Red Bull fare next year. I'm sure they've got the money to do it, but you saw in 08 to 09 when McLaren and Ferrari fought out to the last lap in Brazil, and they spent all their development.
They won
and then the
battle,
next year they were nowhere, absolutely
but
nowhere.
lost the war.
Yeah, exactly. So it'd be interesting. It's interesting to see as well the politic games from Wolf and Horner about them saying, "Oh, Mercedes have stopped. We're full focus on 22," and Red Bull. I think there was an article yesterday saying, "No, we're full on development for 21. We're going to win this with Honda still here and stuff." So it'd be interesting to see how they do next year. And like we saw Red Bull jump up from 08 midfield to 09 and then have that huge period where they're still at the top.
Yeah.
To see what teams can leapfrog and stay at the top. Aston Martin have a huge plan to see what they can do. And that's the thing. We might hope we're going to jump up and do well, but every team says that. Williams say that,
of course.
Capito, and they've finally got money to spend and invest. So they're a team that has so much good infrastructure and facilities and the legendary name that they can't not come back to how they were.
No.
So it'd be interesting to see what manufacturers they might be able to bring in the future. I think that's the only way that teams like that will get back up. So Engine Regs 25 will be really, really interesting to see who can be bought in with that. Yeah, and Aston Martin, like I say, could be up there. Us could be up there. Be interesting to see how Red Bull deal with AlphaTauri. becoming a sister team rather than a junior team. I think it seems to go under the radar a lot, their new approach for them and the money that they're pumping into them. And the DTM Red Bull livery that I did this year, that's a shared design. One side of the garage is the AlphaTauri one, and one side is the Red Bull, and they're equal cars. Yeah, they're equal cars. It's an equal team. AlphaTauri and Red Bull, they're both equal. Yeah. It'll be really interesting to see if Red Bull allow AlphaTauri to win or to get up there. And I think that the dream for Red Bull and Massachusetts is a Red Bull 1, 2, 3, 4 every race.
Yeah,
to get that and have two teams fighting.
But because there's more, there's more return in AlphaTauri doing well than Toro Rosso because they've actually got a brand that they're pushing.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, Red Bull's always going to be, the Red Bull team is carrying that Red Bull flag, but now they've got a product to sell. Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. But again, what I think is going to be interesting as well, though, is not just how, because I think obviously all the talk's been around how are the cars going to be in 22, but also which drivers are going to adapt best to the new cars because they're going to be lower downforce, they're going to be a bit heavier, a bit slower. I think drivers like Carlos Sainz is proving his adaptability. A driver like Fernando Alonso, we know he can drive anything, good or bad, quick. Which drivers are going to take to those regulations the best as well. I think this is an opportunity for someone like Perez, if Gasly gets the Red Bull seat, to be in a bit more of a level playing field with Max because he's not going to know the new car any better than anyone else.
Yeah, I think eventually, cliche, the cream does rise, and you see it. And I keep talking about it, but the closest thing we've got or we've seen in our generation is the 08 to 09 changes because they were completely different cars. I know tyres were similar, and those drivers that did well still. There was a few that perhaps didn't cross over. I think like Kimi sort of started to tail off a little bit when they went to those compared to like his 06, 07 version. But it'd be interesting. I think the biggest question not so much is how much the guys will adapt, because I think within 5 races everyone will be used to it and they'll all be so level, but it's who gets given the chance. Because we saw it in 09 that Button got given a chance and Barrichello started winning races again and Vettel was winning and Mark Webber, who was a midfield Jaguar driver, who'd occasionally P2. So you've got to look at those guys.
You're not wrong.
Like Stroll, but our grid now is so packed that there is no real sort of unknown like Ocon or Gasly or Leclerc. You might have said a few years ago might have a chance, but they've all won now, and Sainz has come close to winning. Norris has come close to winning. Everyone's almost got a race winner there or thereabouts in their team, and it'll be good to see which guys get given the chance with new regs to actually show that they're at the front, and it can absolutely improve careers. Like Barrichello, I think he got an extra 2 years at Williams. Button got a move to McLaren out of it, and these were guys that were written off completely beforehand, before those chances came along. Like Rosberg going to Mercedes, and then the new regs came, and he's a championship contender, whereas people before were going, oh, maybe Schumacher's lost it because he's been beaten by Rosberg. But I think it just showed the level Schumacher was still on. The fact that Rosberg was that close to Hamilton and beat him, the fact that Schumacher was also close to Rosberg, I think that only benefits Schumacher.
Spoke volumes. Yeah, mate, 100%. And again, like you said, I think is it 11 or 10 drivers on the grid are race winners on the current grid? And obviously,
about that, I wouldn't.
That's not Norris, not Sainz, who have both come very close as well. So yeah, you say like the pedigree on the grid at the moment is.
Stroll could have won in Turkey last year as well, and Monza the year before. So there's so many.
Very true.
I know a lot of people say it's a lot of pay drivers now in Formula 1, but I think they've all. That only gets you so far. You do get found out eventually. So I think everyone is there for a reason. Everyone's got the talent. It's who gets the chance and who can pull something out. Williams next year, Latifi could come out of nowhere and become a race winner. If Williams nail it and they've got the money to do it, and if they've spent their last 3 years maybe on 21, because people have known about the regs, they got delayed for a year. So people have known about these regs for a long time. If Williams have gone right, we'll write off 21 and 19 and get these new regs done. Him and Russell, if Russell does stay, could be in a much better seat. I'm more excited, I think, for this than any season since about 2007 when Schumacher went, because no one knows. No one knows what's going to happen.
The unknown.
That's what makes it.
And that's the thing. I think F1's struggled and suffered with samey, you know, oh, it's always Lewis winning, whatever, over the last kind of, and it was the same when Vettel was dominating as well, and it kind of lost that, you know, you need that variety. I think in Formula E, I think having 14 potential race winners is maybe a bit much because it doesn't allow those stories to develop.
I think with 3 races to go, even the
winners,
guy 25th in the championship could still win the title in Formula
That was
E.
a bit much for me because the
I
artificial
like it. I
qualifying,
like Formula E. But yeah,
I'm not a fan.
it's shared chassis, so that you are going to get that closeness. And I think it's good that you have that in certain series. If Mercedes were bringing their own cars to that, or Audi was bringing their own cars, I think that's sort of half the reason they're pulling out ahead of the new rules is that they're seeing that it's going to be shared cars again, perhaps. So there's no way to sort of show their tech. Whereas F1, it's a laboratory for all of these teams.
Yeah.
And like I said earlier, I hope that we get more teams in it because we've got 10 teams now.
Yeah.
It's not enough. We need pre-qualifying days. We need teams like Manor, Minardi back.
Hopefully Alpine can supply a couple of engines. That'd be nice.
Hopefully to anyone. Yeah, just to get us more mileage in the team and more mileage on our engines.
Well, your big boss man Marcin has been quoted saying that they've been in talks, so I guess we'll see. We'll see how that manifests, mate. But all right, Sean, this has been good. Let's get to the quickfire round now, and then we'll wrap up, mate. Because I know you're a busy man. But yeah, man, are you ready, Sean Ball, for the quickfire round?
I think so.
Do you think?
I'll dim the lights just for the
like mastermind version. All right, first question: favorite flavour crisps?
Salt and vinegar, but really fucking strong ones. Ones that knock your socks off.
Oh, you're one of them. Oh,
yeah, need a tang.
You're like Hannah. She loves like it just makes me want to turn inside out.
It's the best bit.
What brand as well? What brand are we talking?
Walker's Squares. Sharpest ones you can get.
Oh, interesting. There's knowledge for any salt and vinegar fans out there. All right. Favourite sport outside of Formula One?
Football, but only really international football. I'm a Stoke City fan, so I haven't got much to cheer on. So international football, I love it. Or Serie A, I love Italian football.
Okay. Who do you follow in Serie A?
Roma, but also Venice. I proposed to my wife in Venice. I've been there a few times. So. Then my new hipster club.
Have you got the new kit?
No, it sold out within like a day. So
did it?
Yeah, straight away. So I prefer the old ones. I prefer the Nike ones, if I'm honest. I think they do a better job. Yeah. So I've always loved Roma, just because of Totti. And stuff like that, like proper old school 2006 era Italian football. I love it. I absolutely love it.
Have you ever been to a match like in person in Italy?
No. Closest, I say closest, it's not Italy. PSG went to see a PSG game and we arrived because my mate just forgot to tell us he had an Uber on his phone, where none of ours were working. We arrived as the fans were coming out of the stadium.
Oh, really?
So yeah, that's the closest to a foreign game that I've got. Just seeing the ultras come out after a win.
Yeah. I managed to get to the San Siro. I watched Milan for one game. That was pretty sick. I've actually got on my other YouTube channel. I've got a vlog of me there. So you should try. Was it Stadio Olimpico? Roma player.
Yeah. Proper old school, crumbling down. Love it.
Yeah.
Everything's faded.
I've been outside of it. I've looked at it, but I've not been inside.
Yeah. No, one day when it opens up again.
After the Italian Grand Prix, you can get a bus down to Roma. Bosh, job done. Yeah. Right, Sean. And again, you're an automotive designer at uni, so should get a good answer for this. What is your favourite road car of all time?
God.
Normal car.
That's two. And maybe a good question.
Maybe like one to own and like one that's just the dream. Like you wouldn't actually necessarily want to own it, but the dream.
I don't know. As a kid, it was always a Jaguar XJ220.
Oh,
just because it was the other car, and I think it was in like the Gone in 60 Seconds film.
Nice.
Yeah, I love that thing. Just because it was something other than, because I think you had the F40, the 959 Porsche, and the McLaren F1, and then there was Jaguar, that were just like, we've built this in a shed in Coventry. This will do. And it looks I love it so much. So probably that, and then like a modern car. God, I don't know. Oh, my Volvo. I've got a Volvo Estate V90. It's my dream car. I loved it when I was at uni and they launched it. I was like, I love that. I love like the clean design of it. And, I finally got one. So yeah, my Volvo. There you go.
Love it. See, living the dream. Working for Alpine with Fernando Alonso and he's got his Volvo.
Got my Volvo.
What more could you ask for? All right, Sean. Who are your favourite band / musicians, music-wise?
God. I'm like 2005 Midlands boy ever. So it's like Arctic Monkeys, Oasis, Beatles, and Rolling Stones, David Bowie, stuff like that. Yeah.
Nice.
Just that 2005 era where everybody was an indie rock band.
Yeah.
Was when I was at school. And those sort of side rooms at nightclubs where that's played, that's where I'll be. Yeah.
Definitely. Have you been able to see any of them live?
No, not a chance. Not that cool.
Oh.
My wife takes me to weird, obscure Six Music bands that no one's ever heard of. About 40 people turn up at the gig. We go, we have a good time, have a bop. Yeah. Stuff like
Love
that.
It. Love it. No, you got to try, man. Like Arctic Monkeys live would be quality. I've not seen them live, but that would be banging. All right, Sean. Next question. You're on death row for crimes against livery design, and you haven't got your poster out on time, so you're in the slammer. What is your final meal on death row?
What I had at uni pretty much every day. My mates don't know how I managed to stay thin. I had pizza, dough balls, and a fake Ben and Jerry's ice cream from Iceland, and it all cost me about £3 because I just had no money at uni. So literally every day I'd have pizza, dough balls, and an ice cream for £3. So it'd just be that, just to
£3 for all that. That's amazing.
Yeah, incredible deal.
What? That's better than any Tesco meal deal, I tell you. That's quality. I'll have to try and find that. I used to live near in Iceland, but I never saw that one there. Right. Sean, top holiday destination. It could be somewhere you haven't been, somewhere you want to go, or have been.
Like Venice, every time, like I just said. It doesn't look real. And the best thing about it, and if you've been, and it probably sounds stupid to people that live there.
I've not been.
It's just quiet because there's no cars. And it's amazing to just go to a place where there's no cars. We went there when I proposed to my wife. And we went out in the middle of the time that we were there. We went to Florence. We just got the train to Florence. And it was just so alien to then have cars and Vespers. And it's just so busy everywhere. Whereas Venice is quiet. We went in like the sort of off-season time. I'd love to live there and retire there. It's just, it doesn't look real. Everything's like a painting everywhere you look. Food's good, nice, quiet. I'm from like Warwick, where it's like a quiet town in England.
Yeah.
So I hate London and stuff like that. It's just too busy for me. Everyone's running everywhere. So Venice, it's a nice slow pace. Everyone's relaxed. Everyone can have a sleep in the afternoon. It's lovely. Yeah. Beautiful. So there again, every year I'd go.
Yeah. Does it smell? I've heard it smells.
No, not at all. Not when we went anyway. I've been a few times after that. I've been when it's flooded. Yeah. We went for the Formula E launch for Dragon last year. It's supposed to be in the middle of St. Mark's Square. So I booked my hotel on St. Mark's Square. We got there and my hotel was underwater completely. Had to wear like full suits, like waders, to get through anyway.
That's Venice problems, I suppose, isn't it?
Exactly. Yeah.
All right. Next question. Cats or dogs?
Cats.
I mean, you're looking at a cat right now, aren't you? Behind the screen.
There you go.
Hello.
Ignore the mess of the house with an explosion of children's toys everywhere.
What's that? What's the cat's name?
Poppy.
Poppy
cat. Big old fat cat. Love it.
Good old Poppy. Do you think you'd ever... What in terms of pets would you... Because we were saying before we started recording, you've got quite a lot of animals.
Yeah, house rabbit, rats, guinea pigs, hamsters. Yeah,
nice.
Cat now. Yeah, but rabbit's the boy. House rabbit is the one called Ziggy, and he's an absolute nuisance. He just eats everything. The entire house is ruined. My wife wants to do stuff and changes to the house. I just keep saying, we just have to wait until he dies in about 10 years because he just ruins everything. Everything's been eaten. Anything that's made out of wood has gone. Door frames, carpets, every cable possible. Yeah, he's ruined. Absolute nuisance, but we love him. So. That's the main thing.
What? Yeah, you love him. That's fine. All right, next one. Tea or coffee, Sean?
I don't drink either. I'm a simple man. I'll have a squash, please. Water.
I'm the same. I'm a water man.
Hot drinks,
I don't like either.
Why do you want a drink to be hot? Need some refreshment.
Only when I'm ill. Only when I'm ill do I want a hot
Get me
drink.
some orange juice.
What's your favourite squash, or like what's your favourite juice?
Oh, Oasis. Just like the band. Litres of it. Intravenous.
That's a classic. I always get Oasis at McDonald's if I ever go, which I go too often. Really, let's be real. All right. And talking of drinks, what about alcoholic beverage of choice?
Anything. I don't like fizzy drinks either. So just anything.
Oh, really?
Tastes like a rye beer, so a Kofferberg, any cider or spirits mixed with Fanta, anything like that. I hate beer too, but I've got too much of a sweet tooth.
Same.
Way too much sugar.
I hate beer.
Yeah, anything sweet, sugary, spirits like that. Yeah.
Man after my own heart. I've had too many Copperbergs in my time.
I had you down as a real ale drinker.
Nah, bruv. No,
Some
not
stouts.
at all. I hate beer, man. I can't stand it. It's disgusting. I'm a cider and wine man.
There you go.
Sometimes spirits, don't mind. And then the last question in this quickfire round, I mean, I ask everyone this one, and I have to ask you this, but I know what the answer is going to be. What is your favourite 2021 livery, Sean?
Oh, it would be the Alpine Formula One team.
Would it?
521. It is, indeed. I love everything about it.
Didn't see that coming.
Neither did I.
Outside of the Alpine, though, what ones impress you?
I like the Aston Martin in real life. I don't think it works too well on TV, and I think they've addressed that and talked about that. And it's something that, again, we saw when they launched that as my senior designer and the guy that used to work at catering. It's like they'll have to change that within a race because it's too dark. It just won't work.
Really?
We know Jaguar changed theirs within 2 races, I think. Caterham changed theirs almost instantly after testing. And Aston Martin, for some reason, stuck with it. I don't know if that's just because it seems like they got, I don't know the ins and outs, and I might be wrong, but it seems like they got the road car team way more involved than their existing team they had at Racing Point this year. They might not have done. But from that Drive to Survive video where they've got Stroll and he's walking through the Aston Martin factory and you've got, I think, Marek Reitman is showing him all the different paint finishes, and you've got, so it seems very much Aston Martin road car design have got involved with delivery this year. So it probably looks great on a road car because road cars aren't filmed for 2 hours a weekend. They're all studio shots, and it looks great in studio shots. It looks good in real life, I've heard from people that have seen it, like Goodwood.
Yeah, I agree.
On TV.
It does.
Yeah, so it'll be exciting what they do next year from that. Apart from that, Red Bull's really good, as it is every year.
Classic.
Not Mercedes this year, not the Ferrari. I don't like the gradient on the Ferrari this year.
Nah, it's terrible.
It's like they got so much good feedback last year on the retro one. They thought, let's try. Yeah. They did the paint numbers the same. So they sort of tried to fade it, but it's really, really hard to paint gradients and get them looking consistent. I think Williams struggled a couple of years ago with their blue into white. So yeah, that without that would have been nice. Yeah, probably Aston Martin then. Yeah. There you go.
Fair shout.
It was a long-winded answer. For hours.
It does look a lot better in real life. I promise. It definitely does. Sean, mate, I think we'll wrap it there, buddy. It's been an hour and a half, almost on the dot. You enjoyed it?
Yeah. Just finally showing my face and talking on camera, which is what I don't do. So yeah, bit out of my comfort zone. No, mate. Sound.
That hasn't come across at all. You've been a natural, buddy. But yeah, mate, thank you for taking the time. I know you're a very busy man. I, of course, will leave links to all of Sean's stuff, his Twitter, his Instagram, and all that down in the description below. So do check him out if you want a page to follow. Again, with no dodgy F1 opinions, just cool concepts F1
nice,
cars.
Shiny cars. Sometimes they're matte.
That's what you want.
Sometimes they're chrome.
If that's what you want, Sean's your man. But yeah. That's been a pleasure, mate. Thank you, everyone, for listening and watching. And we're done, mate. That's it. Finished.
Cheers, fella. Toodle pip.
I don't do a proper outro. So